You are here at the channel UrbX, the definitive space for decoding the intricate design layers of human habitats. We help you bridge the data gap in your read list between the foundational stones from Mesopotamia to the high-tech blueprints of our collective tomorrow. UrbX explores for you how we are planned, how we are built, and how we will thrive. This is UrbX. How to spot a boring cityscape and what can fix it. In the year 2014, the legendary architect Frank Owen Gehry famously dismissed the majority of modern architecture as pure shit during a press conference in Spain. He said, "Let me tell you one thing. In this world we are living in, 98% of everything that is built and designed today is pure shit. There's no sense of design, no respect for humanity or for anything else." This might have shook the audience, but here is why, and what he mentioned could change our perspectives on urban planning and designing the boring concrete jungles to building an environment for humans' well-being. We'll get to the part on why he said there were no design sense or no respect for humanity. Before getting there, let's do a check on what is your take on urban design in general. What do you think of this cityscape and the way it has been designed? Did you have thoughts such as dull, bland, dry, or boring? Then you are in alignment to become an urban designer the world might need. A city cannot be judged by looking at its blueprints or a video. Great urban design isn't just about planning. It's about how a city grows. It's a reflection of its history and culture, built slowly over time with an eye toward the future. In order to understand why did Frank Gehry say what he said, let's first understand what is an interesting cityscape. An interesting city is an interactive one that harmonizes function with aesthetics. Let's take a walkthrough on how to identify an interesting city. Imagine yourself taking a flight to London. You are about to arrive at the London Heathrow Airport, and you can see all the important buildings of London already from your seat. The Tower Bridge, the Gherkins, City Hall, London and the Shard. There you are already gazing at the skyline of London from the top before you can go in and explore. Skylines. The skyline of a city is the most important factor that iconizes a city. The skyline of a city outlines the look of the city's elevation, which further provides character and depth to the city's design and planning. Having skyline like these shown in these images of random cities will only make your city look boring to the explorers and the users. Now that you have arrived at London Heathrow Airport, you take a cab to your accommodation. Now you are able to see the incorporation of all the wide landscapes and the buildings used by the regular people of London, where the play of open spaces and buildings plays well along with the roadway you are traveling. Open space. Open spaces are essential in city planning to help the city breathe and enable the users to socialize better. An interesting city should have a balanced mix of open spaces and buildings. Open spaces with landscapes are as important as the built forms that iconizes a city. Now you've arrived into the London city, where you see the bustling traffic and people hustling for their everyday work. You see multiple turns, streets with sidewalks and plaza centers before you reach your destined accommodation. On the way, you see the play of the streets, sidewalks, and the plazas well arranged with the informative signboards for the city users' convenience. Streetways and sidewalks. Streetways and sidewalks play a critical role in building a city with healthy circulation. Building streetways with adequate spacing, considering the transport and walkers, helps the city to accommodate the city's vehicle traffic and pedestrian flow smoothly. This helps in maintaining the city's order, which in turn can encourage the road users to enjoy the city view and its culture. Streetway planning can be complex and vast. Here to have a glimpse on streetway planning to make your city design interesting. Introducing you to the old and simplest urban layout design of the Barcelona city in Spain. If you look at the drone photos of Barcelona, you must have seen the massive grid of blocks with streets and roadways running across. The chamfered corners of the blocks are the secret sauce of this city's streetway planning, with adequate space for turns. This makes the intersections of the streets feel wide and airy. It also lets in more sunlight and fresh air into the streets, which is ideal for public health. The building units called as the superblocks, organized as a grid with the streets running across turn into parks, playgrounds, and outdoor cafes. This makes Barcelona a city designed for people, not traffic. It makes the neighborhood feel like a giant outdoor living room. This simple yet thoughtful planning makes the city interactive, with every corner you turn has something beautiful to look at. And that's only the beginning. More to share on how these cities are actually built and designed. When do we call a city a boring city? Boring cityscapes often feature monotonous architecture, like endless blank facades or identical high-rises, lacking visual interest and leading to negative psychological effects like stress and unhappiness. In contrast, urban environments that foster well-being can have unique design solutions that are vibrant artistic interventions and could counter urban dullness caused by the city user traffic. A cityscape turns boring when there are no fun play of built elements, and open spaces had ceased to be perfectly functional. The height of a building determines the skyline and the density of the area along with the building typology placement. Planning the buildings as per its height and scale, classification can help in organizing the user spaces as per the human needs, while also focusing onto the functionality of the building. Here's a visual representation of the boring city layout types in short. This chart can help in simplifying the aspects that can determine on calling a city boring. Few buildings, too much open space. These cities may cut down the social and communal aspects of the city, especially if the open spaces aren't well planned and focused on the city user group. Only low-rise buildings, too much open space. This is an archetype for an underdeveloped zone in a region which may need attention. Only buildings, no open space. This type of a city can hinder pedestrian traffic and may turn the city's prime spots into congestion zone for the city users. High-rise buildings, no open space. This is a typical example of an urban space built for commercial purposes and could lack social interactions among the city users. By now, you are likely to have a good sense of what makes a cityscape feel flat or uninteresting. Which brings us to the question, am I living in one such boring cities? What could be the telltale signs that you are living in one? Here are a few signs that may help you. Repetitive architecture, dominated by large, blank, boxy buildings or identical glass towers. The city looks the same from all the corners. Lack of detail, missing intricate textures, varied streetscapes, and unique historical elements. You notice very few public spaces to hang out. Highway dominance, cities with sprawling infrastructure and quiet downtowns after business hours, especially when your connectivity to destinations turns hard. If you are an urban designer, then you must consider to avoid these, as this could impact your city users' well-being in general by causing stress and boredom as they start to sink in with the culture of the city. Meanwhile, your city design could become a topic of discussion for emigration of the city dwellers and can cause attrition in the number of urbanites, eventually. What is the solution to avoid boring city planning? An interesting city's approach would prioritize the needs, health, and well-being of people over the commercial standards of design. It shifts the focus from building monumental structures to creating spaces that foster social interaction, accessibility, and a sense of community. Here's an example of the Times Square's reconstruction at the New York City, on how the designers turned the boring crowded zone to an interesting pedestrian-friendly pathway in middle of the busy intersecting roadways. The New York's Times Square was redesigned by the design firm Snuheta. The redesign of this piece of land was intended to channelize the city's vehicle and pedestrian traffic, where the architects had strategically divided the two sides of the central main road that intersects this bustling zone of the New York City, while encouraging the pedestrian interactions and walk flow on the either side of the road by redesigning the accessibility of the intersection with more space for kiosks, stone benches, and public plaza. The roadway was segmented into two zones, meticulously for considering the fast flow and slow flow movement patterned road users. The path for fast flow pattern was created for the walking pedestrians using the sidewalks to walk and to access the shops around the Times Square. The path for slow flow pattern was built with ergonomically designed benches for the resting pedestrians to use the benches comfortably with design features to sit and stand. The bench design even included thoughtful features for the pedestrians to lean casually while using their phone. This shift from a vehicular-dominated district to a pedestrian plaza has yielded measurable improvements in the health and safety of the Midtown core. Public safety. Pedestrian injuries have decreased and overall crime in the immediate area has dropped, which has increased the public safety. Environmental health. The removal of car traffic from the bow tie resulted reduction in air pollution, making the air significantly cleaner for tourists and local workers. Economic and social output. Surveys indicate the visitors find the plaza more pleasant, and the increased space has bolstered the area's status as a premier location for democratic gatherings and major public celebrations. And that's how much a simple redesign can change a boring and crowded city central space into a pedestrian-friendly plaza and walkway for the city users. Building the skyline. Based on classification of scale and height, the height of the buildings in the city determines the skyline. The density of the region determines the building typology placement. Placing the buildings as per its classified height and scale can help in organizing the user spaces as per the people's needs, while also focusing onto the functionality of the building. The connectivity and accessibility. While height and scale of the building is one aspect, the form of the building and the connecting structures plays a major role in stitching the urban fabric together into an interesting piece. The connecting structures, such as bridges and plazas, are critical in improving the city user's experience of the city. These are one of those zones which need utmost attention to improve the city experience while designing a city. To understand how connectivity and accessibility design are crucial in city planning, here is an example of Frank Gehry's work which improved the public interaction and mobility in Chicago. The BP Pedestrian Bridge, Millennium Park. Project of Gehry could help in understanding how he had stitched the urban fabric of built form and open spaces together with one masterpiece deconstructivist-styled bridge, which is a functional piece and an art sculpture that breaks the monotony of the city walkers walking from the parkland to the urban core. This masterpiece was designed to complement his design, J. Pritzker Pavilion, at the northern end of the park. The exterior was created using over 10,000 steel panels in 17 different configurations with no handrails, but with a wide walkway which can accommodate the runners, joggers, or even the cyclist. This move to go for an unusual serpentine form to connect the nodes of Chicago had been impactful to turn the boring cityscape into a lively hub with its unique artistic form, which also provides the tourists the necessary connectivity and accessibility. This sculptural bridge has been an element that had made its impact by breaking the city's monotony and had increased tourist footfall. Hope you must be having an idea by now on how to compare an interesting city against a boring city. We've got plenty more deep dives into urban design and planning coming your way soon. If you want to really get to know interesting contents on urban design and development, make sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button.